Call the meeting to order. Everybody, let's stand and do the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I keep you straight. You don't want closed book now, because then you got.
Nancy, you want to do roll call?
Ellen. Valley,
Here.
Bivens.
Here.
Book. Considine. Farster,
Here.
Hudson,
Present.
Humphrey,
Here.
Kitson,
Present.
Copine. McLean. Minimi,
Here.
Naylor. Present. Nicholson.
Here.
Norberg. Palin.
Here.
Sheline.
Here.
Shippert. Scrogstad.
Here.
White. Here. Williams.
Here.
Wilson. Zeman.
Here.
Olson.
Here. Thank you. Under announcements, I got, please mute or turn off your cell phone so it doesn't disrupt our meeting. We'll go on to 5. Did anybody, everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? Is there any corrections? Any corrections to the minutes from the April 21st regular county meeting? If none, they'll stand as read. We'll go down to zoning and planning under 6. 6A, we got reports. Dee and Alice have their reports from their May report, the minutes from their meeting, April 12th, May 5th. Any questions or observations? Done. We'll go to B, petitions going to the zoning board of appeals. There's none. C, petitions going to the planning commission is none. And then we get to D, petitions coming from the zoning board of appeals. We have 2 tonight. We will start out with petition 22-P-1590, petitioner Jared Zellhofer, parcel number 02-15-23-300-007 and 02-15-26-200-005 in Amboy Township. I'd entertain a motion. Jack,
A motion to approve petition 22P 1590 with one condition. There shall be no outside storage on the property, including boats, vehicles, semis, motorcycles, RVs, or trailers.
do we have a second to that? Mr. Wilson seconds it. Any discussion? No discussion? If none, all in favor of the petition, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll go down to petition 22-P-1592, Michael and Mary Anderson, parcel number 02-15-36-200-016. It's in Amboy Township. Do I have a motion to approve that? Jack,
A motion to move petition 22P 1592 with one condition. There shall be no outside storage on the property, including boats, vehicles, semis, motorcycles, RVs, or trailers.
do I have a second to that? Mr. Wilson seconds it. Any discussion on this petition? If there's no discussion, we'll move along and get a voice vote. All those in favor of the petition signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. E, I've got coming from Planning Commission, none. And we'll go to our administrative monthly update and board member comments. I don't know, think Wendy's got anything, but Wendy, you got anything you want to share?
Everything that I have, Bob, is later on the agenda.
Any board members going to comment at this time? If none, we'll move down to, there's no speakers, public visitors want to speak. So we're really moving forward here. We'll go through the reports. So our chair and vice chair are not here tonight for administrative services. So who's on that committee would like to give the report?
No pressure.
Oh, no, I'll jump at once. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Administrative Committee met on May 9th at 9 o'clock here in this in this room, and the minutes are in your packet. I think we went through it pretty fast and simply. Old or new business. We appointed a couple of people, James Smith to the County Board of Review, Judy Truckenbrod and Jim Sheeline. And the meeting was adjourned at 9:33. I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Naylor? If none, thank you, Ms. Naylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for stepping up. Blackhawk Hills Regional Council, Mr. Nicholson.
Yep, didn't have a meeting last month, Will, first part of June. The only other thing is Tuesday, there was a conference call and I'm sorry, the Blackhawk Hills representative on the CPACE. And that was explained to the people on the conference call. We passed that several months ago, and that was Tuesday. So other than that, I'll report on Blackhawk Hills next month.
Any questions for Mr. Nicholson? Thanks, John. We're going to go to Claims Committee. Marilyn's not here tonight. Mr. Bally or Mr. Zeman, I guess, wants to.
Yeah, no, Mike Zeman will give it. We met twice. On April 20th, we had 58 claims. On May 4th, we met and we had 55 claims and reviewed all and passed on to the full board. The minutes are in your packet.
Any questions on claims? Thanks, Mike. We'll go down to Executive Committee. I have nothing to report. Minutes are in your packet. Any questions? None. We'll keep going to Finance. Mr. Sheeline.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met last Thursday and all were present except for yours truly. And at this time, I want to thank the Vice Chair, Arlen, for McLean for taking over and making sure that Finance Committee was well done. Everything is in front of you in your packet. There's, first of all, I probably switch over to ARPA committee because that kind of comes first. ARPA committee has two recommendations that you're going to approve tonight, and you'll see that later on in the agenda. And those were approved, came through finance and were approved and is passed on and for your consideration tonight. Then in June, ARPA, before I leave ARPA, the June meeting, we have a lot on our plate. There's a tremendous amount of projects that have been proposed for ARPA's consideration. And so depending on how that ARPA committee takes that under advisement and passes that on to finance, we're going to have a full plate for next month or for ARPA recommendations. So be prepared. Then as far as Finance Committee goes, there are several resolutions that's coming down later on in the agenda. And if there's any questions, I'll certainly take them. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. Sheeline? If none, thanks, Jim. Move to Health Department, Ms. Katie White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you guys hear me? Because we're having trouble hearing everyone back there.
Yep.
Up there, I guess, in the back. So we had to move our May meeting to last night. Usually it's earlier in the month. Unfortunately, we did not have enough members to make a quorum, so we could not meet. But I do have some updates for all of you with some statuses of what's going on. So we started our community health needs assessment, I-plan, and that's a process that we have to go through for recertification. So what they've done to do that, the health department is established a community health committee, and that is going to be the first meeting that we'll have will be next week. And this project will go throughout the summer. Also, we have a graduate level intern that has started to help with that for before mentioned I-plan. There's also Narcan training available for groups or individuals, and participants will receive Narcan after completing that training. So that's also available. And lastly, 2 of the environmental health staff completed their lead inspector and assessor training, which is very good news. And we already do nursing case management for elevated lead levels, but this will allow them to do more home investigations as well. So that is a really good resource that we had. And that's all I have to report. So I don't think you'd have any minutes since we didn't have a meeting.
Any COVID updates at all or any COVID?
Nothing with the COVID right now.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Katie White? Thanks, Katie. We'll go down to 911 board, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was no meeting in April, but recent information, the 911 funds sweep to 988 is still pursuing to have the funds taken elsewhere. The next ETS meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 26th at 5:30 PM at Lee County ECC 911 building. That's all.
Any questions for Mr. Hudson? Thanks, Gene. We'll go down to properties, planning, zoning, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had met last week. Everything's in the onboard. Few updates. Air conditioning system on the current building. The east side's working. The west side, we had a problem with one of the condensers. We got the factory here fixing that. Hopefully we'll have a resolution on that tomorrow. Generator showed up finally after 30 weeks. We're gonna be putting the generator in the old courts building as well. We're starting scope letters for progress on the boiler project in the new courts building. And the elevator project also is coming up pretty soon. As soon as we get the estimates from them, we'll be able to pass that through and get that going as well. Other than that, I don't have much else to say.
Any questions for Mr. Wilson? None. Thanks, Tom. Public safety, health, judicial. Mike's gone. Who's the vice chair of that?
So minutes are in your packet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The minutes are in your packet. Very brief meeting, took just over half an hour. About the only thing of essence there was the fact that the sheriff proposed purchasing some different Starcom radios. And I mean, the minutes are there and down, there's an action item down later on. If you had any comment, John, on that? Okay. I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. They're just dying. He's gotten some refurbishments. So it's a good situation. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Nicholson? None. Thanks, John. We'll go down to transportation, solid waste, Mr. Parser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everyone has the minutes in front of them. We also have a business that needs taken care of tonight. I have our county engineer, Dave Anderson's with us this evening. Do you want to do that now or take it later?
I think we'll take it later. We'll have them come up and talk to us later, Dave, when we come up to them and we'll go from there.
Does anyone have any questions? If so, I'll be glad to answer them.
Questions? None. Thanks, Doug.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Tri-County Opportunities Council, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lee County Council on Aging. Lee County, not Council on Aging, excuse me, I'm confused. The Lee County Tri-County Opportunity Board, we met last month, and we changed the date of our next meeting, which is going to be May the 24th at 6 o'clock. It's going to be by Zoom. And we're going to start, instead of 6 o'clock, it's going to be 5 o'clock. That's when we're going to meet. And the June meeting, what meeting has been changed. And we will be held on June the 23rd at 6 p.m. And Lee County, Ogle County, and Whiteside County was picked to be in a project cultural being logistic appointment. So, and you should have all this on your minutes that I presented to everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's unless someone have a question.
Any questions for Mr. Williams? Thanks, Marvin. We'll go down to tourism, Mr. Palin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met on the 11th of this month, and I'd like to call your attention to our new visitor's guide, which is now called the Look Book. Got a lot of, well, it's a new look and a lot of new features on it too. And Lee County Tourism began running 3 digital campaigns now. And we're utilizing Google search and Google Display and Facebook. And we'll receive comprehensive reports, detailed information on the results on a monthly basis. Find out how effective it really is. And we're going to be keen on lodging, camping, nature, history, and festivals. In our share of the March hotel motel receipts, $4,487.28. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Palin? Thanks, Bill. Mr. Sheeline, are we still, did we are taking our 2% from that, or did the finance committee give that up give that back to the tourism? I know we did it a year ago. I didn't know if we did that this year or not.
I can't remember, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to turn to the administrator who has smiled and she is ready to go.
No, I'm going to say I don't remember either.
Okay.
We definitely deferred it for 1 year, Bob. What I can't remember is when that started and when it's proposed to end. So we haven't done it for a second year.
Maybe put that on your agenda and discuss it when we're done. Yes, Paul. We're not? Okay. I knew we did that at one time. I just thought we did it for a year. I didn't know if we did it for indefinite, but that's fine. Okay. Thanks, Paul. We'll go down to United UCCI, Mr. Forrester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have the minutes yet from Connie. She always forwards them. She's been busy with the Washington trip for NACO they had, but I can report, it was a lengthy, on April 25th, about a 2-hour meeting. And we had a round table discussion. A lot of it dealt with the new formula for the sheriff's salary. Much time was spent on that, and also quite a bit of time was spent on the changes in the ARPA, what it can be used for, what it can't be, the funding, the ARPA funding. I want to report that there is no May or June meetings for UCCI, but there is one for the July 25th and 26th at Eagle Ridge Resort in Galena for the annual conference. So anyone that's wanting to attend or something, they need to get their reservations in and let them know. I'm sure you've all received, if not received information on that, please let me know and I'll get it to you.
Yeah, and I've got it and Becky has it too. So if anybody needs that, let me know too, and we'll get it out to everybody.
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Forrester? Thanks, Doug. We'll go down to old business. I've got the resolution setting the circuit clerk's salary. I've got Wendy down. Wendy, do you want to discuss this?
Sure. So last month, this was on your agenda, and we spent quite a little time discussing the salaries of the county treasurer and the county clerk. And the motion that got made was to approve the resolution as presented last month for the clerk and treasurer. What we failed to do, my fault, is the second resolution is for the circuit clerk, whose salary was set exactly the same as the clerk and treasurer. Just an oversight. So this is a housekeeping thing. We just need to, a motion to approve that salary for the next 4 years.
Ms. White makes a motion. Mr. Kitson seconds it. Any discussion now on it? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Wendy. We go to old business B and the budget adjustment for approved raises. We tabled it in April. My recommendation is we're going to continue to table that till it goes back to finance and they can discuss it in finance. So we'll move down to C. I've got a petition. Let me pull it up here. It's held over in February. Wendy, you want to just explain to us what this text amendment is?
Actually, I'm going to tag this off to Alice. I talked to her right before the meeting, and I think she's going to be do a better job of explaining this. I can just start by saying that this was something that was on your board agenda for February, held over in February, and it did not get moved forward. Once again, I think that was just an error and oversight that was recently discovered.
It looks like it was left off the last month's agenda, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if it was working. What this is a petition requesting an ordinance for solar energy systems as an accessory use. This would cover any solar energy system that is being used for on-site generation of power. So your residential solar, if a farmer wants to use it to run his farming business, things of that nature. So as long as it's being used on site by the property owner, this ordinance would cover it.
Let's get a motion on the table, and then Mr. Nicholson's got a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Kitson seconds it. Now let's discuss it. Any questions or comments? No questions or comments? All those in favor to approve it, the petition, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we'll go down to new business, ARPA committee funding. We'll do A, number 1. We got the historic Dixon Theater. Let's get a motion on the table and we'll discuss it. Do I have a motion to approve it? Mr. Sheeline, do I have a second? Mr. Bivens, any discussion? I believe this is the 100,000 that we agreed to do with Dixon. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any discussion, comments? If none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll go to 2, the planning grant for the traffic analysis around Stewart, Rochelle, and Industrial Park. Mr. Nicholson makes a motion to approve it. Mr. Bivens seconds it. Any discussion? It's for $75,000. No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. We'll go down to them 2 done. We'll do B, the revised MFT maintenance appropriation resolution, the highway department. I think at this time, maybe Dave, you want to come up, doctor, explain to us what it is, and then we'll get a motion on the table once we understand it.
Okay, so you passed one of these actually last month for $5,000. And there was a discrepancy. I think Mr. Kitson caught it. It was written out as 10,000 and then, well, numerically written out as 10,000, but then had 5,000 written in that was left over from last month. So I changed that and that's all worked out. As you remember, we pass maintenance resolutions every November, December timeframe. This is just a supplement to that. We're going to do a little hot mix project, putting $10,000 MFT in it and the rest out of county matching, be a couple $100,000 total. But really all I'm trying to do here is avoid an audit finding here in about 3 years. Because as you remember, in order to spend motor fuel tax money, the highway authority has to appropriate the funds and IDOT has to authorize. So we just need to appropriate a little more here as a supplement. Really probably not going to spend any more than what was on that original resolution, but that's the way we got to do it.
All right, I'm stick around here. We get the next one. We'll go there. Let's get a motion on the table. Mr. Kitson, do I have a second? Jack seconds it. In discussion. All those in favor then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll go to the stipulated agreement, C. You want to explain to us what that is?
There is an ICC stipulated agreement. It's a standard form agreement. It's for lights and gates at the Stewart Road crossing, Burlington Northern Santa Fe crossing. Needed project. The Grade Cross Protection Fund is going to pick up the vast majority of the project, which is good for the BN. But we have just a very small part. We got to extend a curb about 50 feet or something like that to come into kind of a dimensional compliance with the ICC regulations. So our part's pretty minor, but ICC is going to cover all that through, again, Grade Cross Protection Funds. We'll front the money and we'll get it paid back, So it's pretty standard agreement.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Forrester seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Dave, for explaining it to us. We'll go down to D, resolution, county board member compensation. Do I have a motion on the table?
Thanks, motion.
Mr. Sheeline makes a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Bivens seconds it. Any discussion? Any discussion? Yes. Again, Ireland, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. McLean.
Need a second?
Nope, I think we got a second. All right. Mr. Sheeline, do you want to explain this, what we're voting on here?
This is the recommendation that came out of Administrative Services. The Finance Committee took it up and discussed it. The major changes is going from a $60 per diem per meeting compensation for board members to an 80. And plus there's some stipends, or want to call them that, whatever you want to call them, for chairman of the board, taking that to chairman of the board go up to $8,400 annualized basis, vice chairman, $1,200 annual. And then standing committee chairman would get $600 annually.
Thank you. I've had some comments that everybody says they're, board members don't want to vote for themselves for a raise. Well, nobody's voting for themselves because this starts December 1 with the new board. And this lasts for the next 10 years where we're setting this rate. So it lasts a long time. I just want to make that comment. So we have a first and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Jim. I gotta look at some notes here. Go to resolution, the zoning board of appeals and planning commission, the compensation. That's going to start immediately the way I read this. Let's get a motion on the table and discuss it. Mr. Sheeline, Mr. Nicholson seconds it. Any discussion on this? You want to explain it to us?
So this is basically a companion that Mr. Kitson had been kind of taking the lead on this, and because there had not been a improvement for the zoning board members for living memory, and this also does the same thing, takes them from $60 to $80. And let me tell you, if you ever sit through a zoning meeting, it is well deserved.
And once again, that's effective upon passing this next meeting, correct?
It's effective June 1st.
It's effective June 1st. So,
Okay.
so that's the main difference between the previous resolution and this one.
All right, I just wanted to specify the difference of two. We got a first, we got a second. Any discussion? Any more discussion? Any comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. We'll go to F, new business F. We got the resolution in support of the STB, ETSB 911. Shelley spoke to us last month about it, Shelley Dallas. We've got the letter, it's in your packet. Wendy, do you want to make a comment, or Shelley at this time?
I will just add that Shelley kind of explained last month what was going on there. They're based on a recent public act, there appears to be some sweeping of 911 funds. And what you would be doing if you adopted this resolution is essentially saying that you disagree with the sweep of that fund.
Thank you. Shelley, you want to add anything? Okay. I need a motion. Mr. Nicholson, Mr. Hudson seconds it. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor by passing this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now we're going to go to resolution G, certified list of candidates for judge of elections for the Republican and Democrat parties. I've got Nancy. You want to discuss this with us?
Every 2 years, this needs to come before the county board. And as you'll see in your packet, there's a certified list of candidates for judge of elections for the Republican and Democratic Party. And we just need you to okay those names that are listed there.
I need to get a motion on the table. Mr. Hudson. Nancy seconds it. Any discussion?
I just
Yes.
have a question. I believe I'm on that. Judge also, should I abstain from that? I'm assuming I should.
I would, yes.
Thank you.
If there's any question, and sometimes I screw up too on that, just abstain. It just makes it cleaner and we got no questions asked. I've got a first and a second. Any other discussion? If none, if everybody wants to approve that list, pass the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
And
carried.
abstain.
Noted. Thank you, Jack. We're gonna go to the battery storage and then we got a bunch of this. Maybe Alice, you could come up and we'll go through some of these. So I have a resolution with the battery energy storage systems, the moratorium extension. I think the extension is for 90 days. Is that correct?
Correct. For the battery energy storage system, it will be another 90, or just be a 90-day extension of the current moratorium.
All right, hang with us. Let's get a motion on the table. Mr. Wilson, Nancy seconds it. Discussion, will it be done in 90 days?
That is the goal at this point in time. We are finishing up the pipeline ordinance draft with Chastain. We are preparing to move forward with wind, solar, and battery energy storage these next few months.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Wilson? No question? All right. Yes, Tom. Mr. Kitson.
Chairman, I apologize, but it's very difficult to hear from the microphone back here, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I know it's a microphone. I apologize, Alice, but it's very difficult to hear. I don't know. Might be the microphone.
You need to be a little close. Okay.
Want me to repeat or?
Okay, hang on here. Okay, so all in favor of the resolution to extend it for 90 days? It is a resolution, right? Yep, resolution. To extend it for 90 days, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll go down to the resolution with the solar energy systems. You want to explain that? The same, I'm sure, but you want to go through that with us?
Bob, if I could interject on that one, sorry, Alice. So there's three here. The one you just adopted, the battery storage, there's wind, and then there's the solar. These all three came out of the Renewable Energy Committee to extend the moratorium because the development of the new ordinances is not yet completed. Since the last Renewable Energy Committee met, however, just yesterday, Chris Norberg, who was not able to be here tonight, so he asked me to share this with you. Since that time, it came to Chris's attention that the community solar, which are the smaller solar projects, have some deadlines and timelines with regard to the lotteries that they can get into to be successful and have a project awarded to them. And so it is his recommendation and request that and that's why you have, by the way, a solar energy moratorium laying on your desk, because it's different than what was presented in on board. His proposal is that we allow for the community solar projects that are less than 5 megawatts. So again, that defines it as the smaller projects. His goal is to not, with the 3-month moratorium that was originally proposed, this will prohibit some of those community solar projects from being able to get into the lotteries. And so it was his proposal that we modify that slightly and allow or not extend the moratorium on projects that are greater than or less than 5 acres or 5 megawatts, sorry.
Let's get a motion on the table, then we'll discuss it. Mr. Nicholson and Mr. Wilson seconds it. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Wendy, correct me if I'm wrong. Haven't we already passed a bunch of these lottery solar things?
Community solar ones? Yes, although Alice is better to answer probably how many, but we have passed some of them, yes.
And is there more coming?
Reportedly, there are more in line.
So we're gonna allow them to come in while we're still having concerns with the solar? I mean, I guess that's where I'm confused. I mean, we've already got a bunch kind of waiting and holding. But we're gonna open it up to these even though that we've got.
Yeah, I think the difference is the megawatt. This is the 5 megawatts or less.
I understand that, but solar is solar and.
Yeah, I get that. And
So
this-
Rick, what I'm not clear about with the lottery, for those that applied maybe a year or 2 or 3 ago into that lottery, whether they're still, those projects are still alive. I'm not clear on that.
And that's my concern too. I mean, we could end up with I don't know the number, but a bunch of them that have already been approved. So that's my concern, I guess.
Sorry, the community solar projects that were formally approved by Lee County, that occurred in 2018, and so those permits have expired.
So there's
So-
none out there.
I mean, there are some that are looking to come in, but they would have to go through our permitting process.
So by this modification of this resolution, what you'd be doing is allowing them to actually make application to go through that permitting, the zoning and permitting process.
They still got to go through the whole process. We're just
Correct.
Letting them in.
And I understand that, but if we're thinking about changing anything, and I don't know what it might come out of this, I guess the concern is they come in and they apply and they go under our existing ordinance, and then if we change something, they don't have to comply with it. That's my concern. The size really doesn't matter to me. It's more of the process.
Any more discussion?
But the size is the key. This community solars are what, 20 acres or 50 acres? They're just small ones, up to 5
Correct.
megawatt. They're usually a megawatt for every 10 acres, was it? That
Approximately.
one man made it, and that's a good rule of thumb. So these are just the smaller ones that people, we already approved a bunch of them.
Yeah.
The
And
ones we're regulating and the ones we're changing the ordinance for are these monsters like south of Dixon here.
I think we only have one approved in the county. Is that correct? Or
Community solar, correct.
so far, one has been approved.
It's actually the only project that has been built in Lee County so far.
I travel a lot and I see these little ones all over the place, and depending on the topography, you lose them in your rearview mirror. I mean, they're very unobtrusive. I mean,
Mr. Williams, got a comment?
No, I just wanted to ask, are we still in discussion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that when we get out of it,
You call for the vote.
want to call for a vote.
Okay. Okay. We got a request to call for the vote. So all those in favor,
Aye.
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 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Let's do a roll call vote. Sorry.
Start with Bivens. I'm sorry, yes.
Yes.
Barster,
Yes.
Hudson,
No.
Humphrey,
No.
Kitson,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Minimi,
No.
Naylor,
yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Zeman,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
What about Valley?
Valley,
Valley, yes.
sorry.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
So-
15 yes, 3 no.
Thank you. Motion carries. So we'll go to the third resolution for the wind energy system moratorium. I'm going to ask Alice to once again explain that. It's pretty much the same, but go ahead, Alice.
We are just asking to extend the current moratorium on wind energy conversion systems for another 3 months while we continue to work on the ordinance.
Right. Well, then, I need a motion, Mr. Forster, and Nancy seconds it. We got discussion. Once again, is Chastain helping you guys out, the committee, and are we
Correct.
moving forward or?
Correct. And we currently have the public surveys out out in the county available to the public. Those will be available until the 21st. The Renewable Energy Committee will meet next week, the 26th at 9 a.m. to review those results. And then we plan to immediately jump into the wind and solar review.
All right. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
The original moratorium was put into place before we even thought of Chastain and Associates. So Chastain and Associates is going through and helping Alice and Dee and getting all these ordinances done. We're doing it professionally. That's why we're needing a 3-month extension on all these, because we've got somebody looking into it that does this for a living, that works throughout the state. So they're actually helping us. And we brought them in after we got the moratorium put in place for the Renewable Energy Committee. So I think all 3 of these, I think, are a really valid time to make sure we can get it done and done right.
I would agree. We want to do it once and do it right. Doesn't mean we can't tweak it as we go.
It's a living document.
Yes, absolutely. Any other comments? John, you got something you want to share with us? No, good. Anything else? Okay, well, all those in favor of extending the moratorium on wind energy systems signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Alice. So now we go to new business K, Lee County Sheriff's Office request for Starcom radios. Do we have a motion to approve that? Mr. Sheeline, Mr. Wilson seconds it. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we'll go down to L, resolution establishing the salary for the Lee County Sheriff. Do I have a motion to approve that or motion? Mr. Scrogstad, Mr. Kitson seconds it. Any discussion? Any discussion on it? If none, all those in favor for the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We'll go down to M. I don't know where Alice went. Alice still here. We'll go to M, Sauk Valley Hydrogen, request for a letter of credit in lieu of escrow account for decommissioning. I didn't know if that's still relevant.
It is not. They have chosen to go with the escrow account deposit as opposed to an alternative form.
Right. Thank you. What do we do now? It's on the agenda. No action. Thank you. I was thinking that, but I thought it might be something different. So now we go to appointments. We have 5 there. Everybody read through them. I'd entertain a motion to approve all 5 at once. Mr. Nicholson, Mr. Hudson seconds it. All those in favor of doing all 5 at once, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now I entertain a motion to approve all 5 appointees resolutions. Mr. Kitson, Mr. Scroggs seconds it. Any discussion? If none, everybody in favor to approve all 5, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Chairman, I would abstain.
Okay, got 1 abstention. I better read through them too. I'm good. So, all opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We have no executive session tonight. I need a motion to approve county officers' reports, quarterly treasurer's report. Mr. Kitson, Mr. Forster, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I got approval of monthly revenue reports, claims paid in vacation, and payroll paid. And this got to be a roll call vote, but I need a motion. Mr. Palin and Mr. Hudson seconds it. Any discussion? We'll do this for the roll call.
Arster,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Kitson,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Minime,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
Nicholson,
Yes.
Norberg, sorry, Palin,
Yes.
Sheline,
Yes.
Scrogstad,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Valley,
Yes.
and Bivens.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. I need a motion for approval of board member mileage and per diem. Mr. Forster, Mr. Kitson seconds it.
So there is no per diem to approve. May I interject?
Yes. Yes.
So this is on the agenda because it normally would be on the agenda. However, we're in a transition period. I did speak with Finance Committee about this last week. What we would like to be able to do is to more cleanly track and be able to present you with an official report. All these years you've been approving mileage and per diem without really seeing a report. So part of onboard gives us the ability to put these reports out there. So what we're proposing, Becky and I, is that going forward, as an example, she will track, as she always does, all of the per diems for the entire month of March, beginning with the 1st, going through the end. That entire month worth of per diem report, that report will then move in June to the finance and executive committees for approval, and then on to you at the full board. And at that point in time, once that's approved at the full board by this report we've presented to you, then it will move to the payroll department for payment and processing. So because we're in this transition period, there isn't any mileage and per diem report to be approved this month. We're going to have a little gap in your per diems. We'll get caught up eventually, but in order to start this transition this month, you don't have anything.
So we'll call that a no action, you know? Thanks, Wendy. I just read my notes and I was supposed to call on you. I apologize. I want to thank the committee chairs, the board members, Becky, Wendy, Nancy, everybody for helping us get our crop in, because there's a few of us that weren't around this last week. And thank you, Mr. Bivens, for chairing the committee for me and everybody else. So thank you. We got it in and I'll be back next week. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Wilson, Ms. White, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.